Trevor, when they told me to do this interview, I said, it needs to have this stipulation. We'll talk about some sensitive things here. I need to know that you're in a good spot to do this, and also, like, maybe you view this as a platform to kind of educate people. How you feeling?
I very much feel that way. No, I'm doing really well. It's almost like I always am able to look at some silver linings of situations. Tommy John was one of those things where you just can't play and you got to figure out a way to enjoy yourself or do something you couldn't do without baseball. This time around, like, these are some things that I think I have been dealing with and I'm going to continue to deal with. It's always a work in progress. These are not things that you just like fix or solve. And if you don't learn how to handle them, like I could remove myself from this game and go home and I'm still have these things going.
Right.
Like it's you're getting the added benefit of being able to take things into your life, these strategies. So yes, it's very important to me to actually be able to talk about this. It's actually part of the process.
It's great to hear.
And part of the reason that those feelings crop up sometimes is because you feel like you can't talk about things. So I've always been pretty open and honest and candid about when things are going on, whether it's mentally, on the field, whatever. Like I take pride in my ability to do that in publicly. So and a big goal or a big way of kind of reframing the situation, because there's a little bit of embarrassment, there's some shame. You've conditioned yourself to do something and work through things your whole life, and everyone's definition of mental toughness is different and all this stuff, and you don't want to let anyone down or anyone honor your commitments, and all that stuff's there, and I'm okay that I felt that way, but I also accept that it's only going to continue unless I address it. So one of the big things we through the work is like adding value through my own suffering for other people. Like if I can talk about something openly and maybe phrase it in a way or say something that resonates with anybody, or maybe makes them make a change or helps them decide to make a change, then it's worth it.
Isn't it amazing that if you, and I don't want to say got hit with a comebacker, or you had an elbow issue or you're sore, it's a physical ailment that you go to the IL for, nobody thinks twice about it because that's what happens to athletes.
Yeah.
But because it doesn't happen often, although it has happened more this year, that you say, this is anxiety, this is what I'm dealing with, that's why I'm going to the IL. It's a weird thing that the common perception is we're fine if it's a physical problem, but if it's a mental problem, people seem to think twice about it.
Yeah, there's an element of like things being verifiable, and
well, how do you know, on that note, like how do you know what you were really going through? How did you know this is time, I need to say something, I need to do something?
I think Daniel Bard said it best when he talked about his situation, because he has gone through it and he was out of baseball for 5 years. So like basically the worst possible thing happened to him without him addressing it. And then he had to work for years and years and years just to even get to the point where he was okay being around a baseball. And then he just started throwing again, and then got to where he didn't even think about coming back. Right. So he had to go there to make these changes. And what he basically framed it was like, when something that you have done pretty much automatically for years and years and years suddenly is conscious, you're only able to do when you're conscious of it, and there's this fear that you don't even know what it is or how to address it. It becomes untenable, and you're miserable 24/7. That's when you know, and you got to learn yourself first. I mean, I've done a lot of work on kind of trying to be self-aware and look into what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling things, and it's been a long road that I'm going to keep being on, because I'm proud of the progress I've made. But like through that work, already going through a lot of stuff already, in off seasons and stuff. This isn't just something that popped up on a season. There's been a lot that's happened in the last couple of years. Mindset shifts and things I value that I don't value anymore, things like that. And then you have to like deal with that and how that affects your identity. And then you come to the end, you're like, I'm going to do what's best for me. When you start to prioritize those things, know what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, then you can start to be like, is this something that I can fix it, or I can work through in a day or two and continue to do what I'm doing, or is it not?
I need to stop and stop everything else.
Exactly.
And catch up to it. Were you ever physically feeling the effects of this too? Again, I understand it's a lot of it is mental and it's in your thought process. But did it leak into the physical side of I can't sleep at night, appetite. Not to go too personal here, but what can you share with us?
Nothing really affects my appetite ever, but
I can relate to that.
I would say sleep, yes. I would say just being in kind of I learned a lot about the differences between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic, the calming down and you want to ramp yourself up when you need to ramp yourself up, and you want to calm yourself down.
Energy levels. I mean, that's another part about it too, right? And you need energy levels to do what you do.
And what I realized is I was in sympathetic all the time. Like there was never a point where I could calm down. I couldn't go anywhere and be safe.
Yeah.
And I feel like safe is turned into like a weird four-letter word now in discourse at times, but like who wouldn't want to feel safe?
Right. Like that's a bad thing to feel safe.
It comes down to am I safe to relax right now? Are things good enough for me to relax right now?
Yeah.
And the answer to that question for months and months and possibly years was no.
This is not my question. I'm going to bring this up though because I want you to address this, and I see and hear people say it, not at you specifically, but to others who have gone through something similar. Well, here's a person that gets paid pretty well, paid a lot more than I do, to play a game. Mm-hmm. How could their life and how could their situation possibly be that difficult? What is your response to that?
That everything's relative. They're a human being, and one of those big things that I'm realizing, one of my values that has changed over the world over time, is I'm getting pretty tired of thinking of everything economically in economic terms.
Right.
And I'm kind of tired of participating in conversations where the other argument is about economic terms. Simply does not matter how much money you have.
Right.
Because there are do I know this personally? I'm guessing here. It's a theory of mine. There are quite a few billionaires that are not very happy. All right.
If money could fix things, it would. Probably would, right?
Yeah. If money brought happiness, then people who had it would be all happy, and they're not. They're actually just about as happy as everyone else.
100% correct.
It's all about, it's all about what where your head is at any given moment, and it's like future, past, or right now, and all you have is right now. That's all that exists. The other two aren't real. The other one already happened, and it's not here anymore. And the other one, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And that seems so simple, but it's just the way we are with our intelligent brains as animals. That's what we do. We have the ability to perceive those things, so we do it all the time.
Yeah.
And but yeah, when I hear those things, it just kind of rolls in one ear out the other because I also feel like when you hear those things a lot, they're on the internet. And frankly, one thing I've finally really figured out is that 99.99% of the people on the internet, even when they say things, they actually don't feel as strongly as they're trying to portray themselves as feeling. Like they don't actually think that.
They wouldn't say it to your face.
Exactly. They want you to react because it's safe for them to do that where they are.
Right.
But if in front of you, they wouldn't feel safe.
Right.
And that's the difference. So it's just not about money, and it never has been about money. And I think people should just do the things that they like. We play a game that's entertaining for people. Like I just create a feeling, and I'm just like an actor. Like it's the same thing. I do play a game. I am very grateful for that. That has actually been a big reason that I've been able to navigate this is by going there a lot and looking at the little things that I really enjoy about being here every day and knowing that it's going to end at some point.
Yeah.
And does the money help? You can't just open your bank account all the time and be like, I feel better. Like it's like buying stuff.
Right.
Like, that also doesn't work.
That also wears out over time.
That also wears out over time. It's little dopamine hits. I think there's real stuff going through real people's heads, and I feel like being compassionate and empathetic for that, just like treating people with love, is the best way to help them feel better, and also yourself.
You were born 80-something?
89.
89. All right. Significantly younger than me, but same decade. But you and I grew up in a time where players didn't do this. Big league baseball players didn't even reveal this. I've got a stat for you here. From 1972 to 1991, 0 big league players ever went on the DL for mental reasons. I mean, 72 to 91. That's a long time. Mm-hmm. How do you see this being different here in 2023? And like you said, you're not the only one that's gone through this, but has also pushed the pause button to actually take care of it.
Yeah, I think guys will, bare minimum, and I already see it kind of the people in my closer orbit, my teammates, is at least guys are looking in and be like, is this, what is this?
Right.
Like, is this just normal? I'm, anxious for the game and or apprehensive.
It's hard to identify.
It is. It's hard to peel it apart.
We're all always going through something, but maybe you're right. Maybe they're asking themselves the question right now, like, am I supposed to feel all of this or some of this?
It's weird. I had a 12-year-old kid ask me this offseason. I was doing pitching lessons with a group. He goes, how do you get over the fear, or how do you get rid of the fear when you're failing? I'm like, and I told him, the 12-year-old to his face said, "Oh, fear doesn't go away. That's not. I think you're thinking about this different. It doesn't go away. It's how you respond to it. That's actually what being the athlete is."
People ask me all the time, "Do you get nervous to go on television and host a show?" And I guess if it was my first time, maybe,
or something that's different than you usually do.
But you are supposed to feel something, because if I don't feel something when they're counting down, then I'm not going to do a good show. Or like, if you don't feel something when you walk into the batter's box, if you don't feel something when you come out of the bullpen, like, then something's also wrong with you. You're supposed to feel something.
You can feel too much, you can feel too little.
Right.
And we're all nervous, anxious, or scared, or tired, fatigued, whatever. We play every day.
Yeah.
We feel some level of that. Everybody feels something. Yeah. So like, when it gets a lot, you're just like, oh, I'm just more nervous.
Yeah.
But it's hard. You have to go. It's almost like you have to go through it for a long time to address it. And the guys and people who haven't really done a lot of work or thought about it this way in a long time, it takes them longer. But hopefully people can at least start to look within and be like, what am I actually feeling and why? And then go from there, and then maybe seek help and get some people who can be like, oh, this is what this commonly could be, so maybe this will help before this has to happen, right?
Two more things I want to touch on real quick. The first being, I mean, you were gone from the A's for about a month, but in AAA, kind of, on an assignment there. What is it that you did during your time? Do you completely have to step away from everything? Do you want to be around it a little bit? Like, what did your month look like when we didn't see you?
I had to do 2 away stints for a few days, and just really, it's really hard, like I said, it's really hard for me to rest. Like I can't be idle.
Right.
I never have it. I'm a competitor, but also just we've talked about all the hobbies and stuff. Like I'm into lots of stuff. I like being I'm an ADD kid. Like to be stimulated. Like, it's just the way it is. It's what brings me joy. So turning that off is really hard. Being like okay with being like, hey, I'm just gonna lay on the bed and read a book for like 3 hours today. Yeah. That's like, I have not been able to do that, and that gave me the space to be like, I forced myself to do whatever felt good at that moment. And then within days, I'd be like, I really want to get to the field and start changing what my goals are here. Because it was always results-based, and we all know how things are going and what the situation here is, and we have to think about things a little bit differently in order to continue to get better. It's just, I've been on teams that were in different places than other teams. Yeah, right. It's always like this. This might be the most extreme version. I think that,
noted.
But it is the same thing. Yeah. It's just more extreme. Like the same strategies work. So getting away from it immediately. The second time I went down, I knew that there was 2 choices, and that was if it's the game doing it to me, then the game needs to go. Yeah. Or I need to go from the game, or am I going to fulfill the promises that I made to myself, 30 years ago, or 16 years ago when I was drafted? Would 15-year-old, 12-year-old, 10-year-old version of me be proud of how I went out? Yeah. They're proud of what I've done so far. Right. But is that
how you want it to end?
Is that you want to walk out on your own terms, or is this you getting beat by the thing that you've been resisting for a long time? And that left. If you think about them, there's only one option. Yeah. And
that's an obvious choice.
You add in the fact that these guys in this clubhouse, what they're going through, I'm not just going to leave them here doing that, because I think that I can help.
It's a great way to look at it, honestly, and I'm glad that it sounds like that served you well. So last thing here, I know you don't want anybody to have to go through the things that you have or the places that you've been. But that being said, inevitably, like, humans will suffer from mental issues. Yeah. Obviously, during this month, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. But at the same time, you don't want more people to suffer from this, but you probably do want more people to be able to recognize it and bring it up when they do have an issue.
Yeah. Absolutely. If that happens, then that's great. It's so weird because everything is a two-sided coin, and sometimes ignorance is bliss. Sometimes it wears on you to think about how you're feeling every minute of every day, and that gets tiring as well. It's just like eating sugar. You can do it too much. So there's been elements that, like, hey, like my wife and I would be talking about. We love having these conversations about being very open with each other, and because she's got her own things.
Yeah.
Like that's part of this thing because we're going through it together.
We all do.
And I think COVID kind of got a lot of people started on their journeys.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that gets worse before it gets better sometimes. Sometimes you're unpacking stuff that you have been pleasantly hiding
a long time,
and then suddenly you just can't do it anymore,
Yeah.
and then you gotta feel worse for a bit to get better.
So we're done. Did this help you a little bit?
Yes. Yes, it did.
This guy didn't help you, but talking about it did.
Yes, it did.
In all seriousness, thank you for sharing what's a very sensitive topic. I know a lot of players wouldn't even be open to doing this. Like I said, I didn't want to do it unless you felt great about it, and I hope people out there watching this took away something from it. So thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.